to bring you the latest in terms of when those buses actually leave from here to the ranch resort. So in case you're just joining us here on the channel, live pictures from the international airport here. The third bus there again, you see. Desiree, just before you let me go, I know that I'm not able to hear you at the stage. Stay with me. The third bus. The distance between those buses as well. You can see that there's strict protocol here that has been put in place to ensure that they're kept far apart from each other. So right now, what we can, the third bus, all right, it seems like the third bus is heading towards what would be your right side of the wing of that aircraft.
Griselda, we can hear you perfectly.
All right, Desiree, you would see also some of the luggage that is being taken out of the aircraft there. The men who are taking it out, protective gear as well. I cannot overemphasize, from what we've observed over the past couple of weeks, there was strong emphasis on the fact that everyone who will come into close proximity or contact with the South Africans, even though they are not ill or their health condition, according to the health department, is satisfactory. They're not ill, they are in good condition. According to what the health department has indicated, everyone who comes into close proximity to the aircraft or those who are disembarking are supposed to take the necessary precautions. So that third aircraft going towards the back of the aircraft, so obviously the last batch will disembark. Okay, seems to be 4 buses now, Desiree, probably 2 that you're seeing there, another on the other side of the aircraft, I presume.
Griselda, I'm just wondering, when you say that the buses are stopping at different parts of the aircraft, is it not that protocol that was communicated earlier that the crew would be using a different exit as opposed to the passengers?
All right, Desiree, unfortunately, I'm going to have to leave it there. Let's cross to my colleague Sophie Mukwena, who is outside the ranch resort where these buses will travel to, and Sophie will just give us a sense of what's currently taking place there at the moment. If you could also stay on our visuals here while you talk to Sophie.
Thank you, Desiree. Yes, indeed, we are standing here at R101, the route to Polokwane, where these South Africans will be using, and we know that they will be using their South African National Defence Force buses. We expect them to pass here any minute from now, as soon as all the formalities have been completed at the airport. As you know, that this is a military operation, and they are conducting this with precision, and they don't want to take any chances. But we expect them to pass here in an hour from now. You can see behind me here, I want to move out of the shot, that traffic has been controlled and people are being diverted to N1 rather than R101 because they are going to use this route. We know very well that in those buses we have more than 120 South Africans. I guess when they arrived, when they landed this morning, they uttered these words, home sweet home, being happy that they are back home. Even though there are challenges and questions about their arrival, they know very well that now they are home. The families in different provinces, I'm sure they are celebrating to see their loved ones back at home. Some emotional moment because sometimes many thought this will not happen, but due to the fact that the South African government has the responsibility to evacuate its citizens when their lives are in danger. This danger can involve during war, during conflict, during coups. It can also involve during the breakout of diseases in the respective countries where they are. This operation is being done by the Defence Force because they have vast experience. We know that it was in 2014 when they did a similar operation, but the difference was that at that time they were repatriating the bodies. This time it was an evacuation of the South Africans who are alive, but their lives were perhaps in danger, or perhaps they were in distress after spending days and days in the quarantine in Wuhan, the epicenter of the virus, the coronavirus. But as we know now that China did what it could to ensure that they are able to control the disease. And also we know that in recent days we saw on Monday, in fact, the president of China, Xi Jinping, visiting the epicenter of the virus, that is Wuhan, as a symbol that they are now managing this situation. We saw visuals from the national television, CCGTN, and also CCTV, indicating that the 3 hospitals that they built, where they accommodated some of people who were infected, but also they used the hospital to quarantine people, now have been deserted because patients have been released. We saw the medical staff celebrating after doing that job. Now we have a problem in Europe, where Europe is battling to manage this disease. A country like Italy on complete lockdown. Germany is working hard to manage this disease. The same with Great Britain. We know that Boris Johnson has announced measures to manage this. In the United States of America, a similar move, President Donald Trump making announcement yesterday of the emergency to ensure that he's able to manage this disease. On the continent, we know that more African countries now are dealing with this problem. We know yesterday that Kenya, Ethiopia and Guinea made an announcement that they now have to deal with this problem. But we know that the CDC in Addis Ababa, the African Center for Diseases, is working very hard to coordinate the African strategy. The World Health Organization in the Sub-Sahara region, we know they are very hard at work to ensure that the Sub-Sahara region is able to manage this. We know that at some point in time we had to deal with the Ebola, and all hands on deck at the moment to ensure that we don't have a problem in South Africa with those cases that has been announced, particularly yesterday, the minister talking about 24 South Africans now who are identified as positive. But we know that government is working very hard to ensure that they get assisted, and for now the continent is on standby to ensure that there is cooperation, particularly the SADC region. We know that ministers of health met in Tanzania to discuss the strategy. And as they arrive back home, I'm sure for them it's a great relief. We know these are young compatriots or South Africans who were in that country to exercise their rights to have skills, but also to impart skills. It is people who can be a good asset to the country based on the skills that they have acquired in China, and now they are back home. One thing that we tend to forget is that we have many South Africans who are out of the country in different parts of the world who might be in a similar situation, and therefore isolating and also putting stigma to these South Africans will be unfair, because you also have some who decided to go out of the country to either look for greener pastures or to get training. I know that in Spain we have South Africans who are getting trained there. You have South Africans in Turkey, you have South Africans in Germany. Germany with South Africa, strong relations based on the automobile industry. There's traffic between South Africa and Germany dealing with this industry of automobile. In America, we have many South Africans there, some studying there, some have got businesses on the continent. The South Africans are doing business on the continent. We know that some of our biggest companies, your Vodacom, your MTN, and many others are doing business on the continent, and therefore the world is one. Over to you, Desiree.
Well, there you have it. Breaking news here on the SABC News channel. The South Africans arriving from Wuhan in China have arrived. Criselda Lewis brought you all of that action. As the plane arrived, we saw it landing. We saw the disembarkment of both the passengers and the crew in about 3 buses. They're now en route to the quarantine area, and Sophie Mokoena is on the road watching that story. All efforts to bring you every aspect of the story as it unfolds. Stay with us here on SABC News on the agenda. My name is Desiree Chauke. Let's take a break.